Hey, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Raising the Bar with Allison DePauli, where we talk to CEOs who have raised the bar professionally, philanthropically, in their personal lives. And our guest today is my too long to say friend, Sue Young. And all you need to know about Sue is that she is one of the 75 badass women of Twitter. Sorry for the language, but she is. So Sue, I'm very happy to talk to you today. It's been way too long since we decided to do this.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity, Allison. It's wonderful to chat with you.
Yes. So what I wanted to talk about is, so you obviously know how to communicate with people. You've been doing this your whole life, and you can even do Twitter battle. And but I think so many times in whatever orbit, and your orbit is a little bit different than mine, we forget that the thing on the other side is not actually a thing. It's not a piece of equipment. It's not a software. It's not a piece of paper. It's a human. And so many people are so proficient in what they do and can deliver so many things, yet don't necessarily communicate that very well. And you teach people how to do that very well.
Yeah, it's really about, acting like a human being and not acting like a marketing jargon brochure or, some website copy or your branded photos. It's that, in the end, a human being is going to sign the contract with you. It's not about the advertisement or the direct mail pieces that you put together. But if the know, like, and trust factor, okay, that's really important. But there's two factors in marketing. One is the do people have to know you exist, and two is that they have to believe you. But the third one is what I call the believability factor. Do you believe you? Do you believe you as the messenger, as the person who can articulate just the right words in just the right order, at just the right time, to the right people, so that they're drawn to you in a way that you're not chasing them, but you're being of service. You're simply talking, asking the right questions, and using your deep listening skills so that they are drawn to you and they know that you get them. You show them that through your body language, through your words, through your listening skills. So it's a whole bunch of communication that really makes the difference in doing business with a human versus doing business with a policy.
Let's go back and talk about that believability, and not number two, but self-believability, which really is confidence, correct?
Correct. Yeah. You have to believe yourself. And that comes down to, and you know this because, we've talked with different industry groups in health benefits field and insurance, is that it's that internal storytelling. We want to go out and share that marketplace story and all of this of how I save customers all this money, or, we work with this company or that company. But in the end, you first have to start with what I call inside out storytelling, that you cannot go into the marketplace if you don't believe that you are qualified and confident. And I'm not saying to go there and be pompous and arrogant and be obnoxious, but to go there knowing that you can be of service and help somebody. So it starts with that internal story, the self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome, the negative self-talk. Once you change that story with the process that I've learned all these years ago, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, then you can go out into the marketplace, because if you don't believe you, nobody else will believe you either.
I think that's a really important thing, and something that's often overlooked. But I also think that when people think about confidence, they think about that salespeople need confidence, and yes, they do. But everyday people need confidence in their business skills as well, so they can be effective.
Sure, and it's really about, it goes, it is about being effective, but it goes deeper than that. It's about building that relationship at a deeper core level so that people know that you understand them, like I say, and you get them. It's having that easy conversation where it doesn't feel like a sales pitch or a sales meeting, but it's an easy conversation. And in the end, you don't ask them to sell on the, sign on the dotted line. They say to you, when can we start? Where's the contract? And that makes it so much easier and takes the pressure off of everybody, because it's simply a conversation, and conversations that sell.
Yes. And you are a big proponent of relaxed and frank conversation.
Yeah, my
How do
husband
you-
says I'm painfully direct. So yeah.
Well, I suffer from that from time to time as well. How do you teach that to people?
Yeah,
How do
it's
you get them comfortable with the idea that they can say what they think? Because I've known you a long time. You're not mean, you're just direct. It's quite lovely.
thank you. Yeah, it's about, being truthful in a helpful way, and not and it's all, about intention of, look, and asking permission. For example, if you're in a meeting, a sales call, or in a meeting with somebody, you say, would you mind if I share what I'm hearing from you? Oh, sure, tell me, yeah, what am I doing wrong here? And you ask permission, instead of giving advice to people that don't want to hear it or aren't open-minded and open-hearted to it. So you say, because usually what happens, Allison, in business and sales conversations, is that people think it's A, but it's really B. And
Or
so
C.
when you use those deep listening skills, and what I say, you notice the nuances in these conversations that other people miss because they're not listening, they're planning their next response, or they're planning their next question, or they're worried about the FedEx package that didn't come and their mind's distracted. They miss things. And so you lose that human connection. So it's about being direct and saying, I know you think it's about not having enough clients, but the reason that you might not have enough clients is because you're not believing yourself, and people pick up on that. When you go into the marketplace desperate, it's very unappealing.
Yes.
And I've been there. Okay, everything I teach is I'm speaking from the heart here, and I've been there. Okay, I get it. So I've fallen down, stumbled, picked myself up, and that whole thing in 22 years in business. So I know that when you ask permission and you're able to develop that trust with people, and you begin to trust yourself, again, going back to the know, like, and trust, yes, they have to know, like, and trust you, but do you know yourself at that deep level? Do you trust yourself at that deep level? And can you convey and articulate that message so that people are interested? Are you interesting and interested in them so that they are interested in what you're presenting to them?
Let's talk about the natural outcome of being yourself, which is that some people, many people probably, will absolutely think you're the best sliced thing since sliced bread. But there's another group of people that just isn't going to like you very much. How do you manage that? How do you manage that internally? Because I think many people have a very hard time with that. And then how do you manage that externally in your conversations?
Yeah, it's a good, really good question. Internally, it's that I think we have to move away from, again, that story in our minds that we tell ourselves with the self-sabotage. Mom always liked Joey better than me, or you heard something, when you were a kid, your teacher said, well, you're no good in math or whatever. And we carry around these stories. So how can you trust people when, you have to trust yourself? And when you stop telling yourself and focusing on that story of people don't like me, or, oh, we don't get along. And look, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to like me. That's the way the world is.
Exactly.
But if we focus on the people who like us and the people who need our services and who our ideal clients are and who we love to work with, instead of just saying, I'm desperate, I need to close 10 contracts this month, and it's already the end of, the month, and I still have 5 more to go. Oh, crap, what do I do? That's going to blow everything up. You're going to implode. That's not what we're talking about. It's accepting yourself and loving yourself as you are. And I'm 60 years old and I just learned this whole self-love thing, right? Like I didn't learn it growing up. Okay. I didn't,
None of us learned it growing up.
well, yeah, I have a lot of company in this for sure. And I don't blame my parents because they taught me everything that I know. They taught me everything that they know, but they didn't learn it either. And so then it would go back to, well, their parents didn't teach it to them. Well, they didn't learn it either because their parents did. So we just have to break the cycle and say, the biggest thing that I have here, Allison, is this: there's nothing wrong with me, and there never was.
True.
And there's nothing wrong with you or anybody listening or watching this, and there never was. You're fine. Find your people, go to the people and focus on and pay attention to the people who are drawn to you, who you like to work with, and hang out with them. And the other people will find their way to the people who they enjoy and like and like to spend time with. It's that simple. Focus on what you want, and that law of attraction will magnify and they'll come to you.
How do you manage that when you are not necessarily a salesperson, but you are an employee in a large firm? And I know you work with a diversity of businesses, left brain people, right brain people, inside people, outside, blue collar, white collar. How do you teach them to navigate the internal politics? Because politics are just part of life.
Right. And it's about the story that you believe. My boss doesn't like me. I didn't get the promotion because of this. And through NLP and neurolinguistic programming, we focus on the structure of the success model, the 3-step process of be, do, have. Who do I have to be to do the things I want to do so I can have the things I want to have? So if you're an employee and you're thinking, well, once I have my degree or get that extra credential or take that class, then I can be promoted and make more money. And then I'll be able to have that nice car or move out of my apartment. But that's the broken model, have, do, be. You have to be that person. How does the person who is the top salesperson or the top respected person who everybody loves and goes to and has that charisma and that personality, how are they being? What characteristics and traits do they have? Be like them. I'm not saying to, fake it till you make it or be somebody who you're not, but over time you'll start to see and feel, okay, this works good for me. And this is me and this is not me. Think about people who you really admire and like. And it might be somebody at work. It might be somebody on TV or a celebrity, a relative, an old boss, a former boss. And, what traits do they have? How do they behave? So it's be, do, have. That's the success model. Instead of, oh, poor me, I wish I didn't have so many bills. And then what do? You go to the mailbox. There's more bills. And I knew it. That's what happens. I knew Tom was going to get the promotion over me because that's the way we're thinking. And so we have to reprogram our subconscious minds to start thinking and interpreting the stories just as stories internally, that we're not being self-sabotage, that we can be patient and wait for the right time. And the time will come. We try to force things. When I do this, this is going to happen. It's like loosen the grip, allow it to happen. And it's so much easier and lighter and enjoyable.
So I think this comes back to one of your overarching themes, which is about asking the right questions, not just externally, but of yourself as well.
Yeah. We have to ask ourselves, those difficult questions. And it's not like, why me? That's that's the worst question to ask, that kind of victim, I'm going to say pathetic. And like I say, I've been there before, and it's like, no, not why me. It's like, why not me? And so why, what kind of questions are you asking yourself? And, recently Barbara Walters passed away. So, one of my heroes, broadcast journalist, and I was a radio news reporter for years and an on-air anchor and a publicist. So I was trained in, ask quality questions and you get good information. If you're not getting good information, you need to ask better questions. So it comes down to having what I call, and this is how I grew up, was, having that insatiable curiosity. Something interesting, something fun, like wondering, that childhood, like curiosity, like, a little boy springs out of bed, he's 7 years old, he's like, I know there's fun out there and I'm going to go find it, right? What if we sprung out of bed, instead of dragging our sorry little rear ends into the bathroom, like, oh my God, I gotta go to work today. Look at me, I look like hell, No, 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 no. Tell ourselves a different story and transform that story and make it into something that's going to be successful, and say, this is how I live my life. This is how I want to be a person of excellence. What would a person of excellence do? What's my morning routine? Ask yourself those questions. How can I be a person of excellence? It's the little things. And I'll share with you a quick example. My husband and I both worked from home before COVID. So, it was not a big deal for us to kind of get adjusted to working from home. And I borrowed his phone charger from his office, and it was in a power strip on the floor. And so the next day I go back to put the charger back, and I put it on the desk. Now I'm in there alone. I just put the charger back on the desk. And as I turn around, I think to myself, wait a minute, I took it from the power strip on the floor. I didn't take it from the desk. Now, we've been married a long time. He's not going to say anything. You probably wouldn't even notice. But I know. I know. And so what do? It's that long, horrible exercise. I bend down. I put the power charger into the power strip. And now I know that I did my best. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself that one question. You put your head down on the pillow and you think, did I do my absolute best today? Have I been a person of excellence? And how can I improve for tomorrow? Those are the kinds of questions that are going to develop you both personally and professionally, in my opinion.
So I want to go back to something that you illustrated in the story, which is the care that you took. Because it's care, right? It's okay, well, I found it this way, so I should put it back this way. And I'm going to pivot this a little bit into my space, because I see this all the time, and I know you see it in different areas. I see executive teams spend a lot of time and a lot of money in employee benefits, if that's medical insurance or leave or how they're going to allocate their funds or different kinds of benefits, whatever it is. They spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of concern and care. How are we going to make this okay? Rarely do I see that come out in communication to their staff, to the people that they spend a lot of time, a lot of money. This is not something we're not concerned about. And it's not something that people are not concerned about. If I'm an employee somewhere, then I'm concerned about the benefits, what they are, how much they cost, the whole thing. Yet there's not a lot of communication about how the decisions are made. And sometimes it's an easy decision, and sometimes it's a hard decision. But it's always like, well, yeah, this is just kind of what it is. No, that's not true.
Yep.
How do you help people express something difficult? Because it could be good or bad. It can still be difficult.
Sure. And that's the real key here in knowing the right words in the right order at the right time to the right people, is being able to clarify and show people the big picture, the strategy, and then the tactical part. So the internal communication is, this is why we're asking you to put together these charts, or this is why we're offering this, X kind of benefits and family leave because of this. So this is the big picture. Like, what are we working towards? How did we get to this point? Don't worry about it. No. I'm curious.
Exactly.
I want to know.
Employees won't ask, and leaders are typically very reticent to, and even reticent when they do great things. They may cut a deductible in half. They may reduce employee contributions, and they're just like, oh yeah, this is what it is. Yeah, no, that's not, this is what it is. It was a lot of work to get here. We should tell people.
Yes, absolutely. It's that knowing what to include and what to leave out. And how do you distill and break down that message in a way that the everyday Joe or Joanne, whoever, can understand it. And how does it apply to their life? How does it apply to their little world?
And what are your best strategies for helping people to figure out how to do that? Because that applies to every area of your life, not just my corner of the world.
Sure, sure. It's about getting into people's heads and getting to know them. It's about getting to know people and what they value and what's important in their worlds, and understanding them at that deeper core level. And I'll give you an example is, there's a global consulting group called the Arbinger Group. And there's a book called Leadership and Self-Deception, which is one of my favorites. They talk about being inside the box or outside the box. And so it's a fictional story about a company. The consultant comes in and, they think that the manager is, oh, I'm very communicative and, this is a great company. This is what we do. And so you're either inside the box or outside the box, according to the Arbinger model. So if you're inside the box, you treat other people like objects without feelings. And if you're operating outside the box as a leader and as a communicator, you're treating others as human beings, like you would want to be treated. So here's the quick example is, I'm always in a rush. I'm from the East Coast, like you're from the East Coast. So, I drive fast, I talk fast, I'm all over. And so I go to the supermarket and I'm plowing down aisle 12 and there's like an older, lady in front of me who's someone's grandma and she's looking, I'm like, get out of the way, get out. And then I have to stop and I'm like, that could be my mother.
Mm-hmm.
That could be my grandma. So she's not an object who I run past with the wagon and try not to hit her. It's I wait patiently because I treat her as a human being. It's like the boss who walks into the office and passes his admin's desk every day and says, hi, Brittany, how are you? And keeps walking. He doesn't know that Brittany had a car accident this morning, or that Brittany just put in for 2 weeks vacation because her dad is sick in Venezuela or whatever. Instead, when you're outside the box, you stop and you listen to Brittany and you know that she has 2 children, a son and a daughter who are under the age of 6. You just don't say, hey, Brittany, and plow through into the office and then claim you're a great communicator.
I think that is such a big, I know it seems like such a small thing, but I have several clients where one of their ongoing feedback loops is that the management team doesn't engage with the rank and file employee enough. And, in some instances, they're like, oh my gosh, how do we fix this? What do we do? This isn't what we meant to do. And in others, they're like, what? And it's interesting to me to see how different people approach that problem, and how people change and what happens when that changes. Because I think what happens when that changes is remarkable.
It's remarkable at so many levels because, when I consult and teach, groups of people in different businesses and organizations, it's that it affects the culture. It affects how people show up for work every day. And so when you have that open flow of conversation, whether it's good news or bad news, we just saved, $3 million on the health insurance or whatever. But at the same time, there's not always going to be the rosy picture, but people want to know. And when you include them, you widen that circle and you let them, everyone has a seat at the table. And you ask the admin, hey, what do you think of this marketing brochure? Or what do you think of this video that we just recorded for YouTube or for the internal, channel for, the intranet? Ask their opinions. They might have something like really, really valuable and insightful that you completely missed.
Yep.
But you dismiss them because she's just the one who answers the phones.
Mm-hmm. But she knows all the people and what all the people are doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't discount anybody because everybody wants to feel valued. Everybody wants to be feeling like they're important or respected. And walking past someone's desk or ignoring people and then wondering why the campaign failed is disrespectful. And that's why people go home and say, oh crap, I got to go to work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Instead of I get to go to work. I'm really, really excited.
Yes. And I think it's so interesting to see sometimes the disconnect between what does engage people and what doesn't engage people. And I think that inclusivity and being part of a team and something greater than yourself is huge. And I think many leaders want to do that. And sometimes they just don't know how.
Yeah, because they haven't been trained in these soft skills that we're talking about listening and about feelings. You know, like you said, people didn't talk about feelings. It was like feelings. What's that? Like I'm puzzled. You know, like but we have to have those conversations, especially now with mental health issues and conversations that have been swept under the rug. Well, guess what? There is no rug. We
Mhm.
need to be more open and more concerned and acting like H2H, human to human, act like a human being. And
And
when
I
we do that, that's when things change, not just the culture, but that's where, the retention, the productivity, the morale,
Yep.
the hiring, and all of that ties into the culture, but the bottom line will improve as well.
And I think what I see a lot is employers thinking that they have to pay the highest wage in order to be competitive in the recruiting field. And I don't think that's true. I think that culture, and I don't mean a nap pod and snacks. Snacks are good, but that's not what I mean. I mean an engaged and inclusive culture is very appealing to people. And before anybody says anything else, I also want to say that that is a two-way street, right? It's not just I work for you and you give me snacks and a nap pod and I come and go as I please and I have a nap and I go home. I have to deliver my part too. And
Sure.
and we are both employers and we've had our share with that. So it is a two-way street, but I think that when those things are in place, I work for a great employer. They may be civic minded. They certainly are focused on what their employees need to perform well. Then I'm more likely to stay, even though somebody may be offering a little bit more money.
Yeah, I think when the values are aligned,
Yes.
as human beings, and we might have that poster or the picture frame, the mission statement in the lobby of this is how we do business and customer service, and this is what we value. But what about the values of the people? Hello. Yeah. We forgot the people. We got to go back and bring them along with us.
Yes, and I think that's huge. And I think Disney was one of the first organizations to recognize that their first client was not, in fact, the people in their parks. It was the people that operated their parks. And that is why they had such remarkable success. And I did a backstage tour of Disney. So first off, I'm now fascinated with laundries, but I have never seen so many. The laundry is operated by 32 people. They can do laundry in an hour from the time it gets dumped until it gets back dumped. But you know how you do that? You talk to all the people in the laundry and ask them how to make it work better. It has the lowest turnover. The laundry facility has the lowest turnover and the highest application rate of any job in the park.
Go figure, right?
The laundry. Okay. So I think that, but that speaks to how you engage well, and they empower people pretty well also. And I see that pretty consistently is people who are empowered to do the job the way the job works best. And sometimes that's not possible. If you run a clean room or you're a precision manufacturer or whatever, the job has to be done a certain way. But when there's a little bit more flexibility, that is tremendously helpful to engagement and retention.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I love the laundry story. It's spot on. It's spot on, is that you let people do what they're hired to do.
Yes.
Within the framework. So, we call it like in the woo-woo world of, it's masculine and feminine energy. Mm-hmm. So, the masculine energy is the structure, but then the feminine energy is the flow of, okay, we're going to give you the structure of here's the laundry facility. It's got to be done by 3:00 every afternoon. But you can do it at 2:00 if you can, or you can do it at 1:30 in the morning if you want, but it's got to get done. So you give them the structure and the framework of it. It's like building a house, build me a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. Well, do you want all the bedrooms downstairs? Or do you want, well, the bathroom's upstairs, or, how do you want a garage? Do you want a master bedroom? Do you want you want the kitchen in the garage? Give me let me do what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But then again, comes back to asking the questions.
Mhm.
Do you want a 1-story house? Do you want a 2-story house? All of that comes back to asking powerful questions and empowering people, as you said.
Yeah, I think that is the key, managing the balance between the masculine and the feminine energy. And I have seen plenty of men have a lot of feminine energy. And I think we know a few women that have quite a lot of masculine energy. And they're just the yin and the yang. It doesn't really mean anything other than it is just how you manage in the world.
Yeah, and we're, no matter what gender you are, we have a combination of both.
Both.
So, and it just, you learn to work within that, framework that you have, of what, whether you tend to be more, feminine energy versus masculine, and learn how to work within it and operate at a maximum and leverage that. And that's where magic starts to happen.
Yes. And in all areas of communication, not just my domain and not just yours.
Right. Exactly.
So I think we will leave it there today. Do you have any parting advice for us?
Oh boy, that's a big question. Learn from someone who is 5 to 10 steps ahead of you. As the new year starts to unfold, I don't make resolutions. I make decisions, and I can decide on January 28th. I can decide on August 15th. I can decide on June 3rd. Make up your mind to commit to yourself and to your staff, your employees, your profession, whatever it is, that you are going to become a person of excellence and learn something new. Get out of your own head, get out of your own way, so you can be of service to more people. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That is excellent advice for the new year. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Allison.
And we will see you next time. If you like this episode, we will link to the Arbinger book, Leadership and Self-Deception. So you can find that, and we'll link to Sue's contact information so you can find her. And if you like this show, leave a review, subscribe, helps us spread the word, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.